Hello, yes. Welcome to day 6 online classes. We are discussing about digestive system of human being, in which yesterday class we finished what things. Let's recapitulate. So in last class we finished structure of teeth, anatomy of teeth we completed, and also verified roots of teeth. Due to the technical problem, the entire content not played in yesterday class. Once again, I am going to explain the same content in this lesson. So let us see roots of our teeth. Some of teeth contain single root, and some of our teeth contain two roots, and some of our teeth contain three roots. Such variation to be found. The teeth with single root are incisors, canines, and next you observe incisor and canine visual, all lower premolars and upper second premolars. So in last class we discussed these things. These are incisors, canines, and all lower premolars and upper jaw second premolar. You verify at the base of teeth prominent single root is present. So all these teeth exhibit single root. Okay? Yes. Next, the teeth with two roots. Some of the teeth exhibit two roots. Two roots. They are upper first premolar. Upper jaw first premolar exhibit two roots, and second variant lower jaw all molars exhibit two roots. You observe this is one root and this is second root, two roots. All lower molars and upper jaw first premolar shows two roots. So ask in entrances. Next, the teeth with three roots. You observe this visual. All molars of our upper jaw exhibit three roots clearly. Yes. All molars of our upper jaw shows three roots. 1, 2, and 3. Three roots are there. Right? So, with it we finished the roots of teeth. So, we are going to discuss the subsequent part of our digestive system. The human digestive system include digestive tract and digestive glands. Digestive tract starts from mouth to anus. Among all these parts I completed mouth. We discussed about buccal cavity and mouth. Pharynx. Now we are going to discuss about pharynx. So the contents of mouth and buccal cavity we finished. We are going to discuss about pharynx. So what is pharynx? The buccal cavity leads into the pharynx. You observe this visual. This is our pharyngeal region. And marked here, this is our pharyngeal region. So what is pharynx? It is a one part of alimentary canal. Next, it is a common passage for food and air. Both, whatever food material daily we are consuming, that food material passes across the pharynx into esophagus. In the same manner, whatever air we inhale in the respiration, the same air also passes into our respiratory tract, into our trachea through pharynx. That's why the pharynx denotes as common passage for food and air. I will show in what way it passes. Just the food material from the mouth to across the pharynx to it enter into esophagus like this. In the same manner, the air through nose, nasal cavity, nasopharynx, pharynx to it enter into the larynx like this fashion. So you observe the junction. Okay, clear. So it is common passage for both food and air. Right. Next, the properties of pharynx. Now discuss. The pharynx differentiated as three regions. It consists of three parts, namely, one is nasopharynx, and second one is oropharynx, and third one is laryngopharynx. Followed. So the pharynx differentiated as three regions. One is nasopharynx. You observe this one. And next oropharynx, this one, and laryngopharynx. Okay, so three different parts are present in the pharynx. In detail we will discuss. The first part is nasopharynx. The nasopharynx is nothing but the pharyngeal region that lies above the soft palate. Already we discussed palate, the roof of the buccal cavity called palate. In palate, posterior region of the palate, the soft, delicate connective tissue, cylindrical shaped structure hangs downwards. That is called what? Uvula. So in front of the uvula, soft palate is there. So above the soft palate, what situated? Nasopharynx situated, and as well as behind the nasal cavity. So the location of the nasopharynx is behind the nasal cavity, above the soft palate. And one more thing, the eustachian tubes also open it in nasopharynx. What are eustachian tubes? Auditory tubes. They are also called auditory tubes. From our middle ear cavity, tubes are extended into nasopharynx to maintain the equilibrium or equal pressure on eardrum. Such accommodation executed in our body. So that is about nasopharynx. The location of nasopharynx, it lies above the soft palate and behind the nasal cavity. and it receives one pair auditory tubes and eustachian tubes. Okay, so you observe this is the nasal cavity and this is soft palate behind the nasal cavity, and next above the soft palate. Okay, clear? Eustachian tubes also present in detail. Next discuss next the subsequent part of the pharynx, oropharynx. So the oropharynx is middle part of the pharynx. It lies behind the oral cavity. So what is oral cavity? Buccal cavity, the space present between two jaws called buccal cavity. That buccal cavity nothing but oral cavity. Behind the oral cavity, the oropharynx seated. The oropharynx is a common passage to both, by which both food and air passes. So that is about oropharynx. So let's go discuss about third region of the pharynx, that is the laryngopharynx. You observe this visual. In this visual clearly mentioned the blue color representation nasopharynx and the uh, green color representation oropharynx and pink color representation laryngopharynx. Clear? Okay, right. So this is laryngopharynx. It is the last part of the pharyngeal region, hind part of the pharyngeal region, and lies behind the larynx, and as well as it leads into esophagus. Clearly in visual you observe the laryngopharynx pink color part. You have to observe the laryngopharynx gradually going to lead into a narrow tube, that is esophagus, and as well as it also connects, it also contact with larynx at, at its front. Yes. So ultimately we conclude that the pharynx is a common passage for food and air. So in what way the food passes across the pharynx? Let us you observe this visual. The food going to move into esophagus, right? Right. Next, in what way air passes? You observe the marks, arrow marks, in what way the air passes across the laryngopharynx. Yes, we'll discuss one more structure that associated with pharyngeal region. With pharynx, one more structure associated, some group of lymphoid tissue structures, group of lymphoid tissue structures remained around the pharyngeal region as a circle. So that group of lymphoid tissue, whatever arranged as circle fashion at the region of pharynx, called Waldeyer's ring. So it is very very important, asked in entrance examination. As a point of entrance examination, you have to trace out the location of each and every lymphoid organ that's seated in Waldeyer's ring. So the lymphoid tissue at oropharyngeal region. So you observe this visual. In this visual, the prominent opening or prominent pharyngeal region is there. So the earmarked circle fashion, some structures are earmarked as a ring. So all these together considered as Waldeyer ring. So you observe this visual. In this visual, clearly the group of lymphoid organs are present. You observe this is one lymphoid organ, and one more, and one more, and one more. All these are present as what fashion? Circle fashion. Circle fashion. So all these lymphoid tissues together consider as Waldeyer's ring. Let us discuss what are the lymphoid organs concerned to Waldeyer's ring. We will see. So the lymphoid tissue, lymphoid organs concerned to Walden's ring are number one, pharyngeal tonsil. You verify this is visual of pharyngeal tonsil. And next one, pharyngeal tonsil. Next tubal tonsil. You see visual. Follow the arrow marks. They are tubal tonsils. And third one, palatine tonsils. You observe, follow the arrow mark. Palatine tonsils they are. Lingual tonsils. All are paired in condition, one on either side, seated around the pharynx, all together considered as Waldeyer ring. Let us verify the characteristic feature of each and every lymphoid organ of Waldeyer ring. So first, pharyngeal tonsil. The pharyngeal tonsils seated, the pharyngeal tonsil also called adenoids. They also called adenoids. They attaches with the pharyngeal wall. And next, the second lymphoid organ, tubal tonsil. The tubal tonsil, you verified, tubal tonsil seated around the artery tube. Already I told that one pair artery tubes, eustachian tubes, are connected with our pharyngeal cavity. The middle ear cavity open into pharyngeal region. So the such tubes are called eustachian tubes. So around that eustachian tubes, these tubal tonsils are seated. And third variant, palatine tonsils. The palatine tonsils are largest tonsils in the Waldeyer ring. You verify the size also larger. These are the palatine tonsil. Comparatively with other, the size is very larger, largest tonsil, and attaches with the palate. Okay. So the infections, the palatine tonsils undergoes infections, viruses, microbes, infects the palatine tonsils. The infection to the palatine tonsils called tonsillitis disorder. Tonsillitis is a disease name, disorder name, in which what are affected, palatine tonsils to be affected. When palatine tonsils to be affected, such disease is called tonsillitis. Remember technical term, what is tonsillitis? Tonsillitis is a disease in which what are infected, palatine tonsils to be infected, isn't it? Suppose, what is the treatment to the tonsillitis? When the incumbent suffered with the tonsillitis, the removal of the palatine tonsils required. So the removal, the surgery of the palatine tonsil considered as tonsillectomy. Why not? So the surgery related to palatine tonsil, tonsillectomy. The disease related to palatine tonsil, tonsillitis. Okay. Largest lymphoid organs of Waldeyer ring, palatine tonsils. Right. Next, the last and final lymphoid group, that is the lingual tonsil. Lingual means tongue. So at the floor of the tongue, they are seated one pair, one on either side, at the lower part of the tongue. So with this, we finished all the four variants of lymphoid organs that concern to Waldeyer's ring. The subsequent part of our digestive system, the pharynx, leads into esophagus. Let's discuss the characteristic features of esophagus. You observe this is prominent eliminant canal, and you have to focus on what is esophagus. You observe this one, esophagus, a tube, a windpipe. This is esophagus. It is a food pipe, commonly called as food pipe, approximately 25 centimeters in length and located behind the trachea. So if we observe our neck region, this is anterior region and this is posterior region. So in anterior position, at first the air passage is present, trachea is present, respiratory tract is present. At posterior side, you observe here vertebral column is present. So between vertebral column and trachea in middle region, food pipe, esophagus place. There is a position from anterior end to posterior end. So the arrangement to be asked in entrance examination. So the esophagus location behind the trachea, in front of the vertebral column. Okay, in between vertebral column and trachea. The length of the foot pipe approximately 25 centimeters, located behind the trachea and in front of the spinal cord in the neck region, and it passes through the neck and thorax region and crosses the diaphragm. It penetrates, it crosses the diaphragm and leads into stomach, whatever seated in abdominal region. Okay, so ultimately the esophagus leads into stomach. Followed, students, once again I am explaining about esophagus. Esophagus is a short tube, it is a narrow tube, so approximately 25 centimeters in length. It located behind the trachea in the neck region and as well as in front of the vertebral column, and it passes through the neck region and thorax region, ultimately crosses the diaphragm. Diaphragm is a horizontal layer, horizontal partition that separates our thorax cavity from abdominal cavity. Our coelom differentiated as two compartments. The upper compartment is thorax region and lower compartment is abdominal region. Both upper and lower compartments are separated by a partition, horizontal partition. That horizontal partition is diaphragm. Okay, so esophagus passes through the neck, thorax and crosses diaphragm and ultimately leading to stomach, that seated, the stomach seated in abdominal cavity. Okay, right. Next, the regions of the esophagus. According to location, the esophagus differentiated as cervical part. Whatever cervical means neck. The esophagus that present at neck region is called cervical part, isn't it? Right. Next, thoracic part, and third variant is abdominal part. Whatever located at thorax region, that is thoracic part, and whatever crosses diaphragm and lead into stomach, that region is abdominal part. So the esophagus differentiated as three regions. They are cervical part, thoracic part, abdominal part. Okay, clear? Followed? Right. Next, the esophagus leads into stomach. This is the subsequent part of our alimentary canal. The stomach also called gaster. Remember, very very important. Based on further terms, the questions raised in entrance examination. So stomach also called gaster. We verify visual. This is stomach. I am focusing visual. Pink color, bag-like structure. Already you learned earlier classes. So it is a J-shaped muscular bag-like organ. So the appearance of stomach is J-like in shape and made up of with the muscle layer. So in cross section, in structure, in section of stomach, in detail we will discuss. It is a muscular bag, pouch-like organ and located below the diaphragm. Already I told about diaphragm. So beneath the diaphragm it's seated, and towards what side? Left side in our abdominal cavity. That is location of the stomach. The stomach seated below the diaphragm and left side in the abdominal region, and it is the widest organ in our alimentary canal. Clear? So completely no part of alimentary canal like this stomach. It is completely widest organ Next, properties of stomach we'll discuss. If we observe the stomach or gaster, the stomach exhibit two prominent curvatures on its surface by which it attain the shape J shape. So the curvatures of stomach are two. First one is lesser curvature. You verify this is lesser curvature towards the anterior side of the stomach. Next, second one greater curvature towards posterior side of the stomach. You observe the arrow marks clearly as shown in the visual. So lesser curvature and greater curvature followed. Right. Next, peritoneal membrane of the stomach. The stomach is a widest organ. It accommodates the food material whatever we consumed in our daily life. So lot of food material we have to consume. So that food material settles down in stomach, and due to the weight the stomach may disturb. So it fixes at a definite location by the mean of connective tissue layers they call mesenteries and peritoneal membranes. The peritoneum of stomach, let us be verify. The peritoneum of stomach, specially called as, it's specially named as greater omentum. Very, very important technical term. The greater omentum, it is nothing but it is a peritoneum layer of the stomach that attaches the wall of stomach with abdominal wall and fixes stomach at a definite location. It fixes the stomach at definite location. So never allows the disturbance of the stomach. That is the significance of greater omentum. In the same manner, you observe the greater omentum visual. I placed here. The color is yellowish in color. So vascularized blood vessels are present. The yellow color represents what? Adipose tissue. So the greater omentum stores what? Lipids, excess fats also. Greater omentum stores excess fats also. So it fixes the stomach and as well as stores the adipose tissue. Fat, right. Next, the regions of the stomach. Every part of our alimentary canal, not only with a single part, according to function, it differentiated as different regions. So the stomach is a one organ. Again, it differentiated as four regions. The first part is cardiac stomach. The second region is fundus. Third region is body, and fourth region pyloric stomach or pylorus. You verify this visual clearly. Cardiac stomach, orange color stripe you observe. Fundus, gray color, and again orange color, yellow color body, and pylorus, beneath it pylorus. So four regions, the stomach differentiated as four regions: cardiac, fundus, body, and pyloric. Sequence asked in entrance examination: CFBP. Remember, cardiac, fundus, body, pyloric. Okay, let us we'll see the characteristic features of each and every region of the stomach. The cardiac stomach, it is located nearby heart. That's why it named as cardiac stomach. It is the smallest part of stomach. So where the esophagus joins the stomach, at that region is cardiac stomach. So the esophagus open to the stomach by mean of a minute opening. The opening name referred as cardia. And next, around the cardia, a muscular sphincter is seated, which made up of smooth muscles, that is involuntary muscles, and it is cardiac sphincter. So around the cardia, what is present? Cardiac sphincter is present. That cardiac sphincter regulates the passage of food material, passage of the bolus from esophagus to stomach. So it allows the bolus from esophagus to stomach and prevents the reverse passage. That is the ability of the cardiac sphincter that's seated around the cardia. Cardia is a opening. You remember, cardia is a opening between esophagus and stomach. Cardiac sphincter different. Cardiac sphincter, it is a muscular structure that regulates the opening and closing of the cardia, and it is completely operated by our autonomous neural system. So it is involuntary sphincter, not voluntary. We unable to regulate the opening and closing of the cardiac sphincter. Followed. So that is the significance of cardiac sphincter. And the next part of stomach, that is fundus. You observe, this is fundus, red color chamber you observe beneath the cardia. That is fundus region of the stomach. The fundus region is completely uh, towards diaphragm side, and it is completely filled by air. That is the significance of fundus region. And next, the third region is body, and the body is the largest part, and beneath the body and fourth region, pylorus part. The pylorus stomach is hind part, inferior part of stomach. So you observe pyloric region of the stomach, green color chamber. Clear? Green color chamber. So the pyloric region of stomach open into small intestine. So where it open into small intestine, at that region, a aperture is present. That is called pylorus. In the same manner, in between esophagus and stomach, cardia aperture is present. In the same manner, in between stomach and small intestine, aperture is called pylorus. Cardia and pylorus are apertures, openings there. The pylorus also guarded by pyloric sphincter, which made up of with the smooth muscles and involuntary function regulated by autonomous neural system, and allows the food material from stomach to the small intestine, prevents the reverse passage. Let us, we are going to discuss the subsequent part of our alimentary canal, that is small intestine. You have verify the diagram. Small intestine, behind the stomach, the blue color represented tube and green color represented tube, highly coiled tube, it comes under small intestine. So it is longest part of the alimentary canal. Small intestine, its diameter is smaller, that's why it named as small intestine, but it's not a shorter. Its diameter is smaller, but length is longer. So longest part of our alimentary canal, it is about 6.5 meters in length, and the small intestine differentiated as same in the same manner like stomach and pharynx. In the same manner, the small intestine differentiated as duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So three regions are there: duodenum, jejunum, ileum. So in entrance examination, all these parts gives in disturbed fashion, random fashion, and zigzag fashion, and ask you arrange them in a proper order from anterior end to posterior end, or posterior end to anterior end as correct sequence. So students, you have to specify, you have to note down clearly the sequentially the parts are restricted to different parts of alimentary canal. The small intestine contain three regions. Sequentially they are duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Followed. Right. Next, characteristic features of duodenum. You observe the U-shaped coil tube behind the stomach. That is the first part of small intestine, approximately 25 centimeters in length. Followed. And it is widest part of the small intestine. Of course, the small intestine contains three regions. Among these three regions, the small intestine, it is widest part of small intestine. Among these three regions, it is widest. Followed. Right. Next, it receives ampulla of Vater and as well as accessory pancreatic duct. So let us we verify what is ampulla of Vater. You observe this visual. The green color bile duct is there and yellow color pancreatic duct is there. Both are going to fuse. That is called common pancreatic and bile duct. Clear. So both are fused and ultimately formed a single tube that is called ampulla of Vater or ampulla that open into duodenum. So behind the ampulla of Vater, one more tube is present. You observe short tube, yellow color, behind the ampulla of Vater. The green color sac-like structure, there is ampulla of Vater. Okay. Yes, behind it you verify that a small tube is there. That is accessory pancreatic duct. Both the accessory pancreatic duct and ampulla of Vater open into duodenum. Followed. So you verify. So this is ampulla of Vater and this is accessory pancreatic duct. Okay. Right. Right. Next, jejunum. The subsequent part, jejunum, 2.5 meters in length. You observe the blue color coiled tube that's seated in our abdominal cavity. It is a long coiled tube. The coilings are very distantly located and highly vascular tube it is. Rich blood vessels are present. Why? Because it mainly the involves in absorption. So that's why it is highly vascular and long coiled tube. The coiling tubes are right. Next, another part of the small intestine, ileum. It is the longest part under small intestine, approximately 3.5 meters in length, and green color tube. You observe it is completely highly coiled tube. The foldings are very closure, highly coiled, zigzag fashion. You observe highly coiled tube. And next, all these coilings of the small intestine hold together by mean of mesentery layers. Previously, I discussed about the greater omentum of stomach. Like that, the same all these foldings of the small intestine join together, hold together by means of a connective tissue layer. That connective tissue layers are called mesenteries. Remember, the mesenteries holds the all these foldings together. Clear? Right. Next, ileocecal wall. So you observe ileocecal wall. What is ileocecal wall? You observe where the small intestine is. The small intestine going to fuse with the large intestine. So cecum is one part of large intestine where it fuses at that opening prominent valve retain that is called ileocecal wall. So in between stomach and small intestine, pyloric sphincter is present for regulation of the food passage. In this same manner, in between intestine and large intestine, ileocecal valve is present for regulation of food passage. Clear? Right? Next, large intestine. About large intestine, it is the last part of our alimentary canal. The tube is completely wide based on diameter, such name provided. In small intestine, the diameter is smaller, narrow, that's why small intestine. Here, the observe the width, observe you, diameter, observe you. So the diameter is larger, hence it is named as a large intestine, and approximately 1.5 meters in length. It differentiated as cecum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. So let us will discuss about each and every part. Cecum and vermiform appendix. Cecum. So I am focusing the visual. You observe this visual. Here the small intestine is present. Where the small intestine opens, there one valve is present, that is ileocecal valve. So the small intestine going to open into a small pouch. You observe this pouch is called cecum. That is cecum. Followed. All right. So now cecum is a pouch-like organ. If we observe cecum, from the cecum, a blind extension to be extended, a outgrowth, a finger-like, a thumb-like outgrowth to be extended from the cecum. That outgrowth is called cecum appendix. You verify. I mean, you observe the visual. So this is a blind tubular outgrowth that extended from the cecum, that is called vermiform appendix. Students, are you followed? Yes. So that is about vermiform appendix. So it is a blind tube. Vermiform appendix measures about 8 centimeters in length. Are there any function in our organ? Or already this is familiar. Everybody heard previously about the appendix. So the appendix, vermiform appendix, contain lymphoid tissue. It is commented as abdominal tonsil. It is called as abdominal tonsil, and it is a vestigial organ, non-functional organ. Okay, reduced organ, non-functional organ in human being. But if we observe herbivores, in case of herbivores, the cecum and appendix well developed, and in which microorganisms accommodated. They lead symbiotic life under cecum and appendix in case of herbivores. Why? Because the herbivores consumes plant material. That plant material rich with cellulose substance. The cellulose substance digested by the enzyme cellulase enzyme. In animals, no digestive gland able to release cellulase enzyme. You remember, it is very very important. Our digestive glands, so many digestive glands are seated along the alimentary canal. Even though no digestive gland have ability to secrete the no digestive gland have ability to secrete the cellulase enzyme. So the source of cellulase enzyme from microorganism, from bacteria. So in case of herbivores, the cecum and vermiform appendix well developed, and it provides space for, it provides it accommodates the um, microorganisms and bacteria for to lead symbiotic life. So releases cellulase enzyme. Followed, right? That is the significance of cecum and vermiform appendix in herbivores. But in us, the appendix is a vestigial organ, vermiform, like worm. Vermi means worm. It apparently like a worm, like a tube. Hence, it is called vermiform appendix. Right. So when appendix filled with food material. Now, generally, it closed in condition. If suppose it filled with any food material, it leads into appendicitis disorder. The disorder related to appendicitis. The person suffered with appendicitis feels what severe stomach pain. So that is appendicitis disease. And next, second part of the large intestine, colon. So the colon differentiated as, you observe, this is the colon, larger tube. It differentiated as ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon. Followed. You observe. This is ascending colon and it is transverse colon and it is descending colon. And one more, the fourth variant, sigmoid colon. You observe, this is sigmoid colon. Followed. So the colon differentiated as how many regions? Four regions. They are ascending colon, next transfer colon, and descending colon, and sigmoid colon. And if we observe the colon, along the colon, in the visual you observe yellow color longitudinal strand is seated. Observe. Yellow color longitudinal strand seated along the length of the colon. So that is called Taenia coli. You observe. This is Taenia coli. These are longitudinal bands seated along the length of the colon. So the location is anterior side, posterior and lateral side. So three longitudinal bands are seated along the length of colon. They called Taenia coli. And as well as you verify along the length of the colon not a uniform tube. It is showing constrictions, pouches, bead-like pouches along its length. These pouches are called haustra, the small pouches. The small pouches are called haustra. Right, next, subsequent part is rectum. The colon leads into rectum. One more thing, before the rectum, sigmoid canal is there, sigmoid colon is there. The sigmoid colon also called pelvic colon. The sigmoid colon opens into rectum. Okay, you verify this visual. This is rectal part. This is rectum. Okay, so the sigmoid colon leads into rectum. The sigmoid colon also called pelvic colon, seated in pelvic region, hence pelvic colon. So next, rectum. It is also wider tube, measures about 20 centimeters in length, and the rectum leads into anal canal. It is its narrow short tube. The anal canal opens outside at posterior end of our body by mean of a opening that is called anus. Followed. So the last structure of our alimentary canal, anus. Our alimentary canal starts with mouth and ends with anus. With this we finished all organs that are located along the alimentary canal. Okay, so if we observe the anus, around the anus also, around the anal opening also, anal sphincter is present. So the anus regulated by two sphincters. They are internal anal sphincter and external anal sphincter. Students, you remember, it is very important that internal anal sphincter made up of with smooth muscles and external anal sphincter made up of with striped muscles. Followed. So striped muscles are voluntary muscles and smooth muscles are involuntary muscles. So internal anal sphincter regulated by autonomous neural system and external anal sphincter are regulated by central neural system. So the both the internal and external anal sphincters regulates the opening and closing of the anus at the time of the ejection of the fecal material. So the undigested food material ejected outside from the alimentary canal through anus. During this time, these anal sphincters regulates the opening and closing of the anus that mediated by our neural system. One more disorder related to the anal region, that is hemorrhoids. Remember, it's very important. Hemorrhoids, commonly it is called as piles in local language. In local language, we listen this term piles, hemorrhoids. So, what are hemorrhoids? The anal region are richly vascularized and evaginated out. The veins are evaginated out, and bulges and bleeding occur. That is called hemorrhoids. Okay. So, with this, we finished the various parts of alimentary canal, the organization of the alimentary canal. We finish. In next class we are going to discuss the anatomy section of the alimentary canal, the transverse section of the stomach, and as well as uh, uh, um, intestine also. Okay, clear? Right. So until, yes, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.